I've been trying to put myself in his father's shoes. God forbid, if a moment comes where I can't love Rubai. I can't imagine it now, but suppose something like this happened with her. The poor boy is counting on me to talk some sense into his father, and I have no idea of what I'm going to say. The idea for this short story, The Right Thing, actually came from a number of sources and on a number of occasions. I think the first seed was sown into my mind a few years ago when my brother told me about an instance. One of his friends whom he had known in college had come from France to India, and he had gone to meet that friend, and that friend was very depressed because his family won't let him participate in his sister's marriage because he was gay. And that's when I actually started thinking very seriously about this issue of acceptance of alternate lifestyles and sexualities. As you see, the best plots come out of character, and me as a straight writer, firstly I had to be very careful when I was kind of addressing this issue, and I was addressing it through a straight character, which was the character of the professor. So the question was that why should this professor want to stand up for this student? What is there? It has to be something in this professor's life, something that he needs to write in his own life that makes him stand up for this student to his homophobic father. And then there was also the other thing that while he's writing things for this student, how does all this, going through this experience, change the professor, which I had with my father, my own father, and just wrote these lines and put these words in the mouth of the professor, where he says to the boy's father, "We all like things easy," I said. "It's no different when it comes to our kids. We want them to make the right grades, get the right job, like the right sex. That makes them easy to love." Now, and this is something which I've seen over the course of my life, not just in this instance, but in many instances in relationships between fathers and sons. So essentially, it is a story about acceptance, and it is a story which is acceptance in this case of children who have a different sexuality, follow a different sort of lifestyle or an alternative lifestyle. In that sense, I feel that it is a topical story nowadays. Now, I finished this off in 2020, towards in the middle of 2020, and it came out in the Hong Kong Review in January of 2021, and then earlier this year it surprised me by ending up in the semi-finals of the Screencraft cinematic short story competition. That's a Hollywood competition, and this being an Indian story, ending up in the top 39 out of almost 800 stories was really very surprising. Now, one thing is there which is again an anomaly, or could have been an anomaly at one time, but is not an anomaly anymore, given the nature of English and how it has emerged as the language of global culture. I mean, it's an Indian story, but it's never been published in India. It was published in Hong Kong and it was honored in the United States, but it's never really come out in India, which gives you an idea of how international English has become and how much it is a language of global culture. By global culture, I talk about global literature, talk about global music. There are so many examples of authors as well as composers and singers from non-English speaking countries who have actually found fame and fortune in English. I mean, we need to look no further than the experience of Tagore. The text that made Tagore famous all over the world, Gitanjali, was published in 1912, and Yeats, who was the great Irish poet, wrote the preface for it, and that is the text that won him the Nobel Prize and is the translation, and that is what is responsible for Tagore's fame all over the world. More recently, we have the example of Elena Ferrante, whose Neapolitan novels, written originally in Italian, are widely read in English. More than just the language of business, it is now the language of global culture.